Hey friends, hey, we were back, Pastor Chad again, in Acts 21. We are reading through 17 and verses 17 through 26 today. Excited about sharing this passage. It's a unique one. I'm excited about it. And as we journey through this, what's going on? Paul has been journeying back from his third missionary journey to see the leaders and those of the Christian way. Many of them are Jews that have been converted. These are the disciples he's come in to connect with again. And so it starts in verse 17 that it says, when we arrived in Jerusalem, the brothers received him warmly. They are very excited to see Paul and to hear his reports and what's been going on. They've had a lot of reporting of what's been going on. And we'll find out in this a little bit. There's a little twist, a little plot change in here where they're excited, but they've been hearing some things they're a little bit nervous about. We'll get there. And so it says the next day, Paul and the rest of us went to see James, the brother of Jesus, and all the elders were present. Paul greeted them with a report and detail about what God had done among the Gentiles. This is huge, and they're excited. It even says when they heard this, they praised God. So you got to understand, the church is excited for what's going on with the Gentiles. They're excited to see the way they're responding to the good news, the gospel message. But again, there's a little plot change. So they say to Paul, you see, brother, here's what's happening in our world, how many thousands of Jews have believed. And most of them, they are very zealous for the law. That's a really big key that we're going to come back to. They're zealous for the law. They're almost saying, they're setting them up here, if you see the story. They have been informed that you teach all the Jews who live among the Gentiles to turn away from Moses, telling them that they do not have to circumcise their children or live according to our customs. What shall we do? I'm not sure if that's a question or if that's a little bit of a statement of, Paul, are you really doing this? Like, we believe in you, but hold on. And Paul begins to respond there. And I don't know what you think about Paul. I see him as a man that's pretty staunch and strong and likes his way. We see I did not too long ago in Acts 16 where Barnabas wanted to do something and he wanted to do something and bring certain people along, and Paul basically stuck the stake in the ground saying, we're not going to do it. And they split ways. And they do it in grace and peace, but they split ways and go their separate ways because Paul didn't agree. So at times Paul doesn't say, no, I don't agree with this one. Anyway, they move forward, and what shall we do? They will certainly hear that you have come, and they're going to start questioning us. What do we say to you? Did we question you? Do we know what you're saying? Paul, what do we say? So some of them have this idea of, hey, by the way, these four guys, they're going to be doing this purification process. It's this Nazarite ritual of purification, kind of a very Torah law, Old Testament way of doing things. And they're going to do this purification process, and we would like you to go with them. Not just go with them on this purification process, we want you to pay for it. And if you do this, we believe that the people we come in contact with will believe that you still believe strongly in the Torah, you believe strongly in the law, and they will kind of want to accept all that you've been doing. And they will kind of reject the words that are coming that'd be false. So it's almost like this, prove yourself a little bit. I don't know how you deal with that in those situations, but Paul, being this guy that I see him, I almost expect him to say, forget it, I'm not going to do that. But what does Paul do? He does it. Not too long ago in Corinthians, and there's a verse in there that Paul begins to talk about, I become all things to all people to win some. Then he begins to talk about, to the Jews I become a Jew, to the Gentiles I become a Gentile, to win people to the kingdom of God. Now, in saying that, I've always struggled with that at times, wondering, well, does he compromise? But then the word compromise to me is very unique. It's not always a negative thing, is it? I've been married for, almost 25 years, 24 years. It'll be 25 next June. Thinking that through, I've had some compromising to do. If you've been married, you may get this. And if I were to live my life and say, I'm not going to compromise ever, like it's my way or no way, things would not get done real well. I've been in the church, 28 years plus, as a pastor trying to do these things, and I'll tell you, I've seen a lot of compromise that's been good, and I've seen some compromise that's not been so good, but I've seen a lot of fighting and disunity because people say this way is the way, we have to go this way, if we don't, we're wrong. And I see Paul seeing the situation going, you know what, I'm with these Jews, or these converted Jews, these Christians, but remember, they're zealous for the law. And he hears this, and they understand where they're coming from, and he's not against the law. He loves the law. this is Paul. Like he's a solid Jew that's now a follower of Christ. Like this is who he was, and he's a zealous person himself, and so he probably gets it. Probably doesn't want to be questioned like this, but what does he do? He says yes, and he compromises, and he says, "I'll go with this because I believe in what you believe in." In those times where he doesn't believe it, you watch his journey, his missionary journey. He stands up against the people rioting. He stands up against the people who are going to want to throw him in jail and imprisonment and flog him. Like there's times where Paul says, I'm not moving. I'm not budging. I believe this is the right way. But sometimes he says, for the sake of the unity of the church, for the edification of the church, for me to do the right thing right now, I don't need to shake this one up. And something I had to think through myself, like, I appreciate Paul in this. I appreciate seeing someone who's strong and who is very staunch in his beliefs, saying, I have to make sure this is the right fight. My wife has said this often to me when I'm as a pastor, or whether it be with other leaders or other pastors or in staff meeting or just in leading the church somehow. She'll say, Chad, make sure you pick the right fight. Because sometimes we're just ready for a fight. Nowadays I can see that all around me, but it is the right fight and it's the right time. And is this the thing you want to stake yourself on? And I think Paul said, there's so much more I can do here. I can help bring these people together by just going and doing this one thing. And it begins to compromise. There's a compromising that is good, and there's compromising that is just, I'm compromising my beliefs and who I am. And those are times as a church, we don't do that. But to compromise and say, I'm going to do this out of love. I'm going to become all things to all people so I can win some of the kingdom of God. We can't do that by compromising our faith, but we can say, when is it time to compromise in a positive way and say, this one, I'll go with you. And hopefully that'll open the door for conversation and me to express what God is doing in my own life. And this is what Paul's been doing it for many, many years in his journey with Jesus on these missionary journeys. He just wants to express the kingdom of God. And sometimes that's by making sure we're picking the right fight. So when you talk to people today and you hear people, let's just be honest, as the election process gets closer and things happen, let's pick the right fights. Let's make sure that the fight we're trying to really fight is winning people to the kingdom of God, not to my agenda. And God bless you today and hope you have a wonderful day.